Alright, welcome to the 29th edition of Before the Battle. I am Nick Baldwin. They are Daniel Levy of BestFightPicks.com and Go Paolo of Today's Knockout and Sportsnet.ca. Daniel, how's it going?
It's going amazing, man. I mean, we got a great card. I know there were a lot of pullouts, but even with that said, it's still a stacked card, man. So I'm pumped to talk about the fights.
As am I, Paolo. Thank you for joining us. As always, how are you?
Oh, pretty stoked, man. Really excited. Yeah, man, there's a lot of changes to this card, but like Daniel said, this is good. And, you know, for this whole weekend, you get Bellator, you get UFC, and you get Risen or whatever. That's like a whole card. I mean, that's like a whole card. That's like a whole day of fights, man. How can you not be excited for that?
Yeah, as you mentioned off air, we're all going to be sitting home on Saturday. It's going to be really nice, though. First nice day of the year up here in basically I don't know where it's always cold, but oh well. We like fights. We're gonna watch fights. We're here to talk about Saturday night's UFC on Fox 19. However, goes down from Tampa, Florida, headlined by a light heavyweight matchup between Glover Teixeira and Sugar Rashad Evans. Initially, you're supposed to see the return of Khabib, which we will still see earlier on in the card, taking on Tony Ferguson. Ferguson got hurt. That fight scrapped there. There's been a few other injuries that have weakened the card a little bit, but it's on free TV. It's still a card with full of names. I can't complain, and I don't think anyone should. With that, let's get right into the card, kicking things off on the UFC Fight Pass early preliminary card. We got Oluwale Bambos, the Holy War Angel, taking on Cesar Fajea. Daniel, who do you like in this middleweight matchup?
You know, it's one of those fights where it seems like it's too easy to call. It's like it's almost a foregone conclusion that Oluwale Bangbozi is going to knock out Cesar Mutanch in the first round. My only question is, what if he doesn't knock him out in the first round? You know, will he knock him out in the second round, or will he get taken down and potentially get tapped out? Because, I mean, the thing with Bangbozi is, yes, he does have that power, and yes, Mutanchi has no chin, but Bangbozi has never been past the 3-minute mark in a fight. So, you know, it's tough to say, but you know, you got to go with Bangbozi by knockout just by default.
Paulo, do you like Bamboze as well, the favorite here, or will Mutanche get back into the winning column?
You know what? Bang Boss is gonna be my pick, just because, you know, it seems like it's too easy, like Daniel said. But how I think Ferreira can win is that he finally notices that, you know, oh shit, my chin is not good. I cannot like stand out there for too long. So what if he wrestles Bang Boss? Like, I mean, Uriah Hall wrestled Bang Boss and beat him up on the ground, man. This is Uriah Hall, a guy who's like a freaking stand-up striker. So I mean, Ferreira could do the same thing and get Bang Boss on the ground. He's pretty much screwed, man. But you know, I think he's got the speed, the quickness to get Ferreira out of there.
I definitely agree. I like Oluwale Bambos by a knockout in the first round here. Cesar Fajea moving up to middleweight, that is the right move, but will it matter? I do not think so. His chin is just too weak at this point. He does not have a chin whatsoever. With that being said, he has been knocked out by, say, Sam Alvey and Jorge Masvidal. Sam Alvey, especially, who also, Daniel, you just had on your show recently, he's known for his knockouts, so it's not a huge shock. But when you're getting knocked out by guys like CB Dollaway, then, and that was even before the Sam Alvey and Jorge Masvidal knockout, then you have to really question, how good is my chin? Oluwale Bambos, he may not have much on the ground, but he has enough on the feet to finish this fight in the first round. I'm pretty confident in the Holy War Angel here. I really like him. It seems too easy, like you guys mentioned, like Daniel mentioned. So, I mean, Cesar Fajea, he could use his tad experience advantage here and be able to get him down, weather the storm, and maybe even grind out a decision or somehow finish him on the ground or something like that. I just don't see that happening. I like Oluwale Bambos here by knockout. Moving on, Dana White looking for a fighter. Randy Brown returns to the octagon against Michael Graves. Paulo, who do you like in this welterweight fight?
Oh, you know what? it's one of those fights that if Randy Brown keeps the fight standing, he's more than likely gonna win. But if Graves gets him on the ground, then he could probably maybe expose him or something. I mean, not saying that he doesn't have a ground game. I mean, he does, but it hasn't really been tested by someone like Michael Graves yet. And the thing about Graves is he can he wrestled his way to winning against Lucan. He could do the same thing against Brown, but Brown's so much bigger, he's a different animal like that. But what's it called? Graves is as a striker too. So, but I'm gonna have to go with Graves here, man, just off the experience advantage.
Daniel, do you like Michael Graves here or Randy Brown?
I got to root for my boy Michael Graves. He's training down the street at my gym, Knuckle Up. He brought me and a crew of 5 of my friends into the Legacy fights last week, so I'm kind of biased on this one. But, as far as the styles are concerned, Randy Brown, he's a great striker. He keeps long range, and if you try to fight a rangy fight with him, you're going to lose. The thing is, Michael Graves, he knows how to win this fight. He needs to make the strikes to his takedowns and grind this guy out, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do.
I will actually go with Randy Brown here. I'm not confident that Graves will be able to solidify those takedowns constantly. That's what he needs to do to win this fight. He very well could. Randy Brown, I wasn't overly impressed with his UFC debut over Matt Dwyer, who has since been released from the UFC. It was a good fight. It was a pretty good performance, but probably not a Sage Northcutt debut-esque performance from Randy Brown. With that being said, I do think he gets past Michael Graves here. I think he'll be able to keep the distance. It's a tough fight to call, though. We haven't seen Randy Brown much at all. Only one UFC fight and then whatever else he's had outside of the octagon. Michael Graves, both undefeated, both don't have too much experience. So it's a fight that, with guys that are this unexperienced, Randy Brown or Graves could be very more improved since their last outing, even though that's, say, 2 to 5 months ago. We could see a completely new Graves here. We could see a way better Randy Brown here. So it's a tough fight to call, especially when you have 2 fairly unexperienced, undefeated fighters stepping inside the octagon against each other. But with that being said, I will go with Randy Rude Boy Brown to win by decision. Headlining the Fight Pass prelims, former UFC flyweight title challenger moving up to bantamweight John Dodson, taking on Manny Gamburian, the Anvil. Daniel, do you like the Magician or Manny Gamburian?
The line's a little bit steep on this one. It's going to be one of those fights where the fight will play out closer than the line indicates, but the favorite will prevail. I do believe that, John Dodson, he's faster. He's got better fight IQ. He's won the bigger fights. And even though, in his last couple he hasn't pulled the trigger as much, if you look back in his career, it's always been the case where he'll run around the ring for 3 minutes and not throw a strike, and then he'll blitz you and knock you out. So it's in this fight, it's a matter of, is Manny Gamburian going to be able to take it? And there's also a chance Gamburian could catch him, but I highly doubt it. So I got to go with Dodson here.
Now, Paolo, do you like John Dodson here or Manny Gamburian?
Yeah, I like Dodson here. I think the move up is going to be good for him too. And he was already fast at flyweight against the other flyweight fighters. What Morgan's the bigger, slightly slower bantamweight fighter. So yeah, I think he's going to be good, and he's the technically better fighter. The thing is though, Manny's this guy is not an easy fight for anyone, right? So yeah, it might be one of those cases where if you bet big, Dodson big, you could be sweating it because a lot of action's not happening, but he's slightly winning, like the Makovsky fight, but he's still gonna end up winning. So yeah, I'm gonna pick Dodson, probably by decision, man.
Yeah, I'm liking John Dodson here as well. I haven't checked the odds, but he should be quite a sizable favorite. Just checking now, minus 500. That seems quite accurate. I feel Manny Gamburian's best days are probably behind him, despite coming off a victory over Scott Jorgensen, who is also no longer with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. John Dodson, he's one of those fighters where he's one of the best flyweights, but he just can't get past Demetrius Johnson. There's no shame in losing to Johnson. So, I mean, it's a tough Yeah, I actually don't look at it as a tough fight to call. John Dodson, I like him here. I like him by a knockout. The weight change, I don't think will have too big of an effect on him against a guy like Gambarian. As we saw with John Lineker, he looked very, very small and undersized against Francisco Rivera when he debuted at 135 last year. I get the feeling we're going to see the same thing with Dodson, but because of the lower level competition in Manny Gambarian, I don't think that'll matter. I think Dodson will be able to connect and connect hard and knock out Gambarian, but I am worried when we start to see Dodson take on top bantamweights, say like Cruz, Dillashaw, Faber even, and the list goes on and on. Aljamain Sterling, can't forget Thomas Almeida. So I mean, I don't think it'll be too close of a fight. I like John Dodson here by knockout. First fight on the Fox Sports 1 prelims, we got Drew Dober taking on Islam Makhachev. Daniel, do you like Islam Makhachev here or Drew Dober?
It's a tough one to call because I don't know how good Islam Makhachev is. I know he's really hyped. I know on the regional scene he did what he was supposed to do and went out there and crushed these cans, but he's coming off a devastating knockout loss to a stud in Adriano Martins, and my question is, how is he going to rebound from that loss? The thing with Drew Dober is, he's tough, he's gritty, he's durable, he's got decent striking, and in his last fight he showed that he has been improving his wrestling. So we're going to have to see what happens. I'm going to lean with Makhachev. He is Russian. He does train with all those beasts. So by default, I got to pick him. But a Dober upset would not surprise me one bit.
Paulo, who do you like between Islam Makhachev and Drew Dober in this lightweight matchup?
I like Makachev here fairly confidently, but like Daniel said, he just got dusted in his last fight, so maybe people were hyping him up a little bit just because he's like, I think he's Khabib's cousin, and then they're like, oh, he's blood related, he's as good as him, but that's not always the case. I mean, but I still do believe he's the more talented fighter here, the more dangerous fighter, but Drew Dober, you just don't know, weird things happen when Drew Dober fights. Let's just say that.
Yeah, definitely. This is a close fight. Islam Makhachev is coming off the first loss of his pro career. He's a hyped up Russian, Dagestani. He has looked good until he obviously got knocked out by Adriano Martins. We haven't seen him too much in the UFC. Only 2 fights, 1 win over Leo Kuntz, and then, of course, that devastating loss to Martins late last year. It's going to be interesting to see how he rebounds from that loss. I'll say he wins, but I don't think he does so in impressive fashion. I like him to be able to grind out a decision over Drew Dober. I tend to fade Drew Dober, though, too often than I should. I picked Holtzman against him. Obviously was wrong in that one earlier this year. So, I mean, Drew Dober could surprise me and take this win over the hyped-up Russian. But I got to go with Islam Makhachev here. I think he'll return to his grinding roots a bit more in this one and be able to pull off a decision against the American. Moving on, we have a welterweight matchup between Santiago Ponzinibbio and Court the Crusher McGee. Daniel, who do you like in this 170-pound matchup?
Well, Court McGee's a really tough guy. You can't ever count him out, but I think that Santiago Ponzinibbio's got the higher ceiling here, and in his last fight, I feel like that was almost his coming out party. Just he really put it all together, and it was a devastating knockout. And I think from now on, he's going to build off of that, and he's going to go on a streak here. So, much respect to Court McGee, but I do believe Ponzinibbio will get the win via knockout or decision.
Now, Paulo, do you like Santiago Ponzinibbio here? And by the way, shout out to Santiago Ponzinibbio for having the best name in MMA, or will the Crusher get the job done?
You know what? I really like Ponzinibbio. I'm really high on this guy. When he lost to Larkin, that was kind of heartbreaking. But it's Lorenzo Larkin. That guy's a beast in his own right. I think he's gonna put it on the Crusher, man. See, the thing about Court McGee, like Daniel said, he's really tough, and he's the crusher because he likes to pressure you and pressure and pressure you and take damage at the expense of that. So if he eats a little bit too many punches from someone like Ponzinibbio, maybe though, he might get TKO'd. But since he's so tough, it might be something like a referee stoppage in between rounds or something like that. So, but I still gotta go with Ponzinibbio, man.
Yeah, I like Santiago Ponzinibbio here as well. Courtney, he looked good in his UFC return late last year at UFC 194. Not sure a win over Marcio Alexandre means a whole lot in the UFC's welterweight division. Ponzinibbio has been looking good as of late, especially since his knockout loss to Lorenz Larkin last year. I'm liking him here. I don't think McGee will be able to get the takedowns. I think Ponzinibbio will be able to keep standing and ultimately get a knockout win. Former UFC Women's Bantamweight title challenger Betch Correia, number 8th ranked women's bantamweight contender, taking on Raquel Pennington, number 11. Daniel, do you like Betch Correia, the pitbull here, or will Rocky get the job done?
You know, people like to say that Conor McGregor talked his way into a title shot, even though he beat Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo. Betch Correia talked her way into a title shot. She beat Jessamine Duke and Shayna Baszler. That is talking your way into a title shot, my friends. And, you know, I understand good business. That pay-per-view did really well. So I know what's up. But as far as this fight's concerned, you gotta go with Rocky, man. I mean, she's so durable. She's gritty. She's grimy. She finds a way. She's been finishing chicks, and yeah, I think it's her time now. So I think the ceiling for Rocky is really high.
Now, Paolo, do you like Raquel Pennington here or the returning Betch Correia?
No, I like Betch. No, come on. I like Rocky here fairly easily. Now it's too bad that she's minus 235 now, and I regret because at one point I saw it minus 165, and why I didn't pull the trigger, I don't know. She's just so much better than Betch. The thing about her is though, even though she had like a fairly even record to begin with, she's showing improvements as she's going on. I mean, she submitted Andrade and what's her name, Ashley Evans Smith, who were both favorites over her, and who were slightly better fighters than she was, but you know, she finds a way to win out there. Now the thing about Betch Correia is, no offense to this girl, but she might be the worst fighter to ever get a title shot. Come on, no offense if she's losing.
I guess we'd have to decide that with a bantamweight bout between Joe Soto and Betch Correia.
Joe Soto, yeah, you know, they could fight for it.
Definitely. I will go with. Let's see. This is a closer fight than I think you guys believe, but I will side with Rocky here. I don't think the Pitbull will return her highest form, coming off a 47 knockout loss to Ronda Rousey, the then champion, former champion as of now. I've been underestimating Raquel Pennington for a long time. I am done with underestimating her because she just adds one more pick wrong to my, say, tout master or just my overall pick. So I got to go with Raquel Pennington here. I think she's the favorite for a reason. I can't be confident in Betch Correia coming off an under a minute knockout to Ronda Rousey, despite it being Ronda Rousey, one of the best fighters in the female divisions. I don't know. I think even without those layoff and without the knockout loss, I do think Raquel Pennington is the better fighter overall. She went 3 hard rounds with Holly Holm, the former champion who nearly defended it last month, and went to a split decision, which a win over Holly Holm wouldn't have been a robbery. So I'll go Raquel Pennington, not too confident. This is kind of a whatever fight to me. Anyways, let's talk about a more interesting fight, a lightweight battle between Benny Dariush and Michael Chiesa. I'm really looking forward to this one. Daniel, you like Benil Dariush a lot. You've had him on half the battle. Does he win here on Saturday night versus Michael Chiesa?
He does win here on Saturday night versus Michael Chiesa. Now, we got to give Michael Chiesa a lot of credit. I mean, this guy, he's so gritty. He finds a way to win. He's deceptively strong. A lot of people think that he's weak because of the way he looks, but dude, I mean, he bodies guys in there. He's one of the bigger lightweights. Now, in this fight, I think Benny does everything better than him. I think he's a cleaner striker. I think, obviously, I know he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. And the thing with this matchup is Chiesa is going to charge forward. He's going to try to go in there and finish Benny. And while doing that, I think that Benny is going to find an opportunity to finish him. The only thing that kind of worries me is that Michael Chiesa is the first guy that Benny's fought that is kind of like the only guy that Benny's lost to. He's like a better version of Nijam. The only difference here is that I think Benny is going to make the proper adjustments, and this time he's going to go out there and he's going to get the finish.
Paolo, who do you like, Beneil Dariush or Michael Chiesa?
Oh, when this fight first came out, I was thinking about parlaying John Jones and Benny Dariush together at that time, but obviously that's dead now because Daniel Cormier pulled out of his fight. But now that I looked at Michael Chiesa more, I'm like, there's no way I'm betting against this guy. Like Daniel said, this guy he's crazy, man. Once the fight hits the mat, he's relentless. He's super strong. He's like this really crazy strong person that really just wants to kill you whenever he gets a hold of you, kind of thing. I can't put a technical description to that, but that's how it makes me feel. So if the fight does manage to hit the mat or he managed to get it within his range to do that, I'd be really fearful for Benny, even though he's a Jiu-Jitsu world champion. So I'm not betting on this fight, but I still gotta pick Benny to win this. I think maybe the fight stays standing more often than not, and he's gonna use his superior striking and edge it out. But it will be a really exciting fight, that's for sure.
Yes, I like Beneil Dariush here as well. I actually like him inside the distance like Daniel does. I like him by submission. He is honestly better everywhere than Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa is very sneaky on the ground, but Beneil Dariush is even better, I believe. I think Michael Chiesa is probably going to what's the word? Not over exaggerate, but go for the takedowns and go for submissions too much and then leave himself open. I really see something along those lines happening. I think Beneil Dariush will be able to capitalize on a Chiesa mistake and grab hold of either his neck or an arm or something like that and be able to tap him out. But do not count out Michael Chiesa. I may have sounded like this is a whitewash for Beneil Dariush. It is the exact opposite of that. Michael Chiesa is a very good fighter. He's good on the feet. He's very good on the ground. I just feel Beneil Dariush is a bit better in both areas and in all areas of mixed martial arts. But upsets occur. We are very familiar with upsets. They happen all the time. And this is a fight where if you're going to pick a dog, go with Chiesa over any other dog, in my opinion, on this card. But I still got to favor Benny Dariush by submission here. Now, moving on, the first fight on the Fox main card, we got Cub Swanson, former and still current UFC featherweight contender. However, he's riding a two-fight losing streak and returning after a long layoff against rising contender number 10 Hakron Diaz. Daniel, do you like Diaz here, or will Cub Swanson get back to winning ways?
I think that Hakron Diaz is going to finally get that signature win here. I think that he's a very strong and imposing figure in that UFC octagon. I mean, one doesn't simply body Darren Elkins, and that's exactly what he did. And against Cub, historically known, his weakness is his ground game. The thing is, on any given night, Cub Swanson can knock anyone out. But if I got to make an argument for Hakron on the feet, he trains with Aldo and Barao every single day. Obviously, Aldo knocked out Swanson in 7 seconds. But the bottom line here is he's getting the training in. I think he's getting better every fight. And he arguably beat Ricardo Lamas, too. So I think Hakron's very underrated. And I think there's a good chance he grinds out Cub Swanson.
Now, Paulo, do you like Cub Swanson to get back into the winning column after two devastating back-to-back losses and a year-long layoff, or will Hopper Diaz be able to pull off the upset in the opening fight on Big Fox on Saturday night?
Yeah, you know what? I hate having to agree um, with Daniel all the time, but I'm with Diaz on this too. Or maybe I'm maybe just enticed at the fact that he's an underdog because, I mean, Hakran Diaz, this guy is like not like most Nova União fighters you're gonna see in the UFC. This guy's like a grinder, man, and this guy's a big, burly grinder too, who's really good. I mean, he outgrinded Darren Elkins. One doesn't simply outgrind Darren Elkins, man. I mean, look what Darren Elkins has been doing to like all these guys recently, man. He's been like killing a lot of bets. So, but the thing about Swanson though, you shouldn't count him out just because he got really killed by Max Holloway and Frankie Edgar. I mean, those two guys could be fighting for the title as soon as late this year if McGregor drops a belt. So it's no shame to lose to both those guys. So I got to go with Diaz here, especially as an underdog.
I will go the other way around. I'll pick Cub Swanson, but I am not confident in Cub Swanson whatsoever. Hakran Diaz, I've been very high on him. I've been picking him in most of his recent fights. I picked him against Darren Elkins. I picked him against Levin Makashvili. I believe there is one or two others. And like Daniel pointed out, he arguably beat Ricardo Lamas back in 2014. I believe I scored that fight 2-1 for Diaz. So he is getting better each and every day. I guess I consider him a rising contender in the featherweight division. He's training, like Daniel pointed out, at Nova União, getting better each and every day. Cub Swanson, on the other hand, yes, he's training at one of the best MMA fight camps in the world in Jackson Lake MMA, but is he getting better each and every day, or is he on the decline? I would have to agree with the latter. I don't think Cub Swanson is getting better each and every day, but I do think he'll be able to defend the takedowns, keep it on the feet where he wants it, and outpoint Hakran Diaz en route to a fairly close but clear decision win to get back into the winning column. Moving on, we have a lightweight matchup, or catchweight matchup at 160 pounds. Actually, we got the returning Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on UFC newcomer Daryl Horcher. Khabib wins this fight. How does he do it? How long does it take? Daniel.
You know, I think that what's going to happen here is the only chance that Horcher has is to land a big left hand or a big right hand because he does have one-punch knockout power, but he's not good off his back. And if there's one thing that you don't want to be against Khabib is not good off your back. So what's going to happen here is when he gets taken down, I do believe that Khabib's going to pass. He's going to full him out. He's either going to ground and pound TKO or he's going to submit him. I know a lot of people think it's going to go to a decision just because Khabib went to a decision with the champ Dos Anjos and with Pat Healy, guys that barely ever get finished. But that's not going to be the case here. He's gonna finish this guy.
Now, Paulo, do you like Khabib here? And if you don't, you better have a pretty damn good reason on why you're picking Horcher here. And if you are siding with the returning Khabib, who hasn't fought since his win over current lightweight champion Rafael Dos Anjos back in April of 2014 at UFC on Fox 11, 8 big Fox cards later, here we are. Paulo, how does Khabib win this fight?
I don't know. He suplexes him through the mat or something. I don't know. It's like a foregone conclusion. Khabib's gonna maul him on the ground. So we might as well see something crazy, like what Khabibulov did to Pichel. I think he just kept suplexing the crap out of him until he was pretty much done. So maybe we'll see it here, but who knows? I don't really know much about Horcher. I can't really throw him under the bus just because everyone is saying, but Khabib on his best. I mean, come on, man, this guy's been wrestling bears since he was a kid. If you can't knock him out, you're done.
Yeah, that kind of falls in line with my Corey Anderson logic. He beats 25-8, everyone else beats 24-7, so you got to go with Corey Anderson all the time. Similar to that, Khabib wrestles bears since he's been 3 years old. So you got to go with Khabib. I think he wins by submission. 30-25 or 30-26 unanimous decision wouldn't surprise me. I don't think we're going to see the best Khabib with the layoff and with the multiple injuries. That's why I would have picked Tony Ferguson inside the distance against him if that fight was happening. I really like Tony in that one. I think Tony's the future of the lightweight division. But we don't have Tony Ferguson. We got UFC newcomer Daryl Horcher, who isn't a bum, but is he on Khabib's level? Definitely not. Definitely not. Khabib should be able to grind out a decision or even submit him on the ground in the first or second. Khabib can win however he wants. That's the thing. Not going to spend any more time breaking down this fight because it's likely going to last like 10 seconds anyways. And this breakdown will be more or less pointless. But bottom of the line, Khabib wins, most likely inside the distance. Moving on, we have the co-main event of the evening. Women's strawweight contenders Rose Namajunas taking on Tisha, the Tiny Tornado Torres. Daniel, do you like Torres here or the favorite, Rose Namajunas?
Well, firstly, I think people forgot that Tisha Torres already beat Rose Namajunas because, I'm currently looking at the line, plus 210 on Tisha Torres, which is absolutely crazy. And I think it's due to the hype behind Rose Namajunas. She's more exciting than Tisha Torres. She's a finisher. She goes for flying arm bars, flying knees. How can you not love watching those kind of things? But when it comes down to picking fights and being correct in picking fights, you pick winners. You pick people that perform well under pressure. And I think that's what Tisha Torres does. I think that she finds a way to win. She's a points fighter. It might not be fun to watch. It might be boring. But she'll get the win here via decision and cash a plus 200 underdog bet.
Interesting. Paolo, are you also siding with Tisha Torres? Will he be on your betting list, or does Rose Namajunas get the job done?
Again, like I said, there's a trend here. I'm agreeing with Daniel all the time, but yes, I like Tisha Torres here. And when the fight was announced, I thought, oh, this is probably going to be like one of those pick'em fights. And then it goes to show that Tisha Torres is like an underdog. I'm like, what? That's insane. What's crazier is that the line it keeps moving up on her. Now, yeah, Daniel said everything already. The fan in me wants Rose to win because she's more exciting. She finishes fights, and she does a lot of unpredictable stuff in there. But Tisha Torres is she's like a GSP type of fighter, very decision-based points. She knows how to win the fight, the martial arts competition, as GSP says. So yeah, I really think Tisha Torres is gonna win this fight.
There's a trend here also, multiple trends. I will go against you guys again. I like the favorite here, Rose Namajunas. I like her a lot too. I don't see how Tisha Torres wins this fight other than grinding her out, and I have a tough time seeing Rose Namajunas be grinded out by Tisha Torres. I just don't see it happening. I think Rose Namajunas will be able to. I think Tisha Torres is probably going to go for takedowns right out of the opening bell. Will she be successful? Possibly. Will that matter? Rose Namajunas is good on the ground. She probably could lock up some sort of submission, off her back or reverse and get on top, something like that. I like Rose Namajunas inside the distance. I like her by submission. I would be very surprised if Tisha Torres is able to pull this one off. I agree with the odds. I agree with Rose being something like a 2-1 favorite here. I think that's where it should be. I really like Rose Namajunas here. I faded her in her last fight, and that was a very big mistake. So no more fading. Rose Namajunas, I like her by submission. And Daniel, because you're American, I'll send you maple syrup if Tisha Torres wins. And Paolo, I'll send you maple syrup to add to your maple syrup collection. Moving on, we have the main event of the evening. Glover Teixeira, former title challenger and former champion Rashad Evans. They're squaring off in the main event of the evening of UFC on Fox 19 from Tampa, Florida. Paolo, Glover Teixeira, will he defeat Rashad Evans, or will Evans get back into the winning column on Saturday night?
You know what? Once upon a time ago, Rashad Evans was one of the most feared light heavyweights ever, and that's because he still had his trademark speed, his explosiveness, and a lot, and his wrestling, and his wrestling is very dependent. But all of those are like compromised now because of all the knee injuries that he's had, the long layoff, and just the fact that he might be on the decline. I mean, he probably is on the decline right now. I mean, he was a great fighter before, but not so sure about it now. But the thing about Teixeira is this guy is still a pretty good fighter. I remember fading him against OSP, and boy, did he prove me wrong. Yeah, Teixeira. I think I got Teixeira winning here, probably by decision, just because I think only one fighter's ever finished Rashad, and that's Machida, from if I can recall correctly. Yeah, you don't just knock out Rashad Evans. So.
Before we get to Daniel's pick for this fight, Daniel, you decide, and Paolo, you decide. Are we doing this friendly wager here? I'll send you guys maple syrup if Tisha Torres wins, but I need something in return when Rose Namajunas wins. So, are we going to do this?
Let's do it, man.
All right.
What you have to send us, or send me, because I'm going with Rose. If Rose wins, any sort of Georgian food I should be on the lookout for.
Well, for James Lynch, he's got some beer on the way, but for you, I gotta think about it, man. So, let me get back to you on that. I'll make it count. But
perfect.
Get that syrup ready, boy.
I'll have it ready. It's in my fridge, but I do not plan on mailing it down to Atlanta, Georgia. I don't think that'll happen, but like I said, I'll be surprised enough to send you maple syrup. And put the effort in to do that. And Paolo, I don't know, we can exchange maple syrup, something like that. Toronto versus maple syrup, something like that.
Is that what you guys do in Canada?
Yeah, we just mail each other maple syrup all day. It's pretty normal.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we'll send more than mail.
I don't know what we'll send each other. I'll send you syrup and you send me, I don't know, what's some other Canadian food? A Tim Hortons coffee, even though I don't drink coffee. There we go.
What about poutine? I hear that poutine is the real deal. I know your boy GSP says he lives and dies by it. So what's the scoop, guys?
I'm not too interested in week-old poutine in a envelope. That might not be the best.
No, but how's the food itself?
It's amazing, man.
I've never had poutine in my life.
Oh man, just like you never watched UFC 100, gotta catch up with the times, man.
Yeah, probably the only Canadian to never eat poutine. But I'll keep that. I'll try and keep that trend going for as long as possible. Anyways.
So sorry to interrupt, but Paolo, I mean, what's the scoop on the poutine? Is it the real deal or what?
Yeah, man, it's really good. It's the best, man. That stuff's addicting, man. I don't blame GSP at all. And the thing, you can add different things to your poutine. I don't know if a lot of the poutine, purists out there would want to do that. They probably just want the gravy and the cheese on it. But me, I like having bacon on that thing sometimes.
Yeah,
that's like.
That sounds good to me, man. I'm gonna have to find a local poutine shop in Atlanta.
Is there such thing? Maybe that's why GSP isn't returning as soon as possible. He's too. Remember when those reports rose? He was like 200 pounds, probably because of the poutine.
Probably, man. There's a lot of sodium in that, but it's really good, man. Really good.
Definitely. All right, we've lost like 3 listeners since we started talking about poutine and maple syrup. Probably the hardcore fight fans are tuning in. They're wanting fights. We will continue on with Daniel, Glover Teixeira or Rashad Evans.
In Rashad Evans' prime, like Paolo pointed out, and like I pointed out on Half the Battle, what's the first thing to go for an aging competitor? It's their speed, and their explosiveness. And that's exactly what Rashad Evans was known for back in his day. But even in his prime, when Rashad Evans was the man, he'd still gas out in the 3rd round. And, guys like Rampage and Thiago Silva, they were able to capitalize. And this fight specifically, even though Glover is a little bit older, they say he's 37, 38. I think he might be like 41, 42. He's got a long visa history, so who knows how old he really is. But with that being said, I think that, I know, power is the last thing to go. So as long as he took this fight seriously and he doesn't show up like he did against Phil Davis, and he shows up like he did in his last 2 fights, I think he's got this.
I like Glover Teixeira here. I like him a lot. I like him inside the distance also. Rashad Evans, like you guys pointed out, he is tough to be knocked out, but he's still taking quite an amount of damage over the years. Clearly, he's not at where he once was. That Ryan Bader fight was quite depressing in the sense that Rashad Evans, it probably was because of the layoff. That could have been a part of it, but he just did not look that good whatsoever. He was flat-footed. He couldn't really land his shots and get those takedowns. He couldn't. His game. He just could not. His game plan. He couldn't. He didn't use it. Like he wasn't able to get into that flow kind of that fighters should be able to. I don't think that's going to stop here. I don't think he's going to look much better. With the layoff not being a factor, he should look a bit better. He should look a bit more fresh. But Glover Teixeira is a different animal right now in the light heavyweight division. Age-wise, they're not too far apart, but fight years-wise, they are definitely. Glover has not taken the amount of damage Rashad has. I know he's way better on the feet at this point in both of their respective careers. I think he'll be able to defend the takedowns, which is most likely Rashad's game, grind out Glover. I don't think that's going to matter even if Glover gets taken down once or twice. He should be able to get back up. I don't see it playing out like the Phil Davis fight really at all. That would be a surprise to me. I like Glover Teixeira to land some big shots early on the feet, and eventually get the knockout win. Daniel?
Yeah, I totally forgot what I was going to say, so keep going. If I remember, I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll probably be done by then, but whatever. Anyways, that is UFC on Fox 19. UFC Tampa, not quite the card we had once had. It was initially, like I mentioned, Khabib versus Ferguson, Rashad versus Shogun, and I actually prefer Glover Rashad over Rashad Shogun. So that was a good replacement in my opinion. We had Rose Namajunas, Tisha Torres on the card, and we also had Lyoto Machida taking on Dan Henderson in a middleweight rematch. But Machida recently admitted to having a banned substance in his system. Apparently, it was some sort of supplement. There's kind of two stories going around. One, wasn't aware that it was in his system, or two, it was a supplement, something like that. I don't know the exact story, but that fight was scrapped. It's looking like Lyoto may be able to get off like Yoel Romero, and with a reduced suspension. But nevertheless, it's I guess it's good to see USADA clean up the sport, but it's also sad to see these legends pop for banned substances, even if they didn't know it was in their system. It's kind of tough to believe all of these, not excuses, but possibly stories. But anyways, Daniel, did you remember, or are you still trying to figure that out?
No, I'm all good, man. I think we covered everything we needed to say about that.
Yes, we definitely covered everything about UFC Tampa. Anything else you guys want to add? We have Bellator on Saturday afternoon as well. The Bellator organization debut in Italy. We have a main event of Patricky Pitbull taking on Kevin Souza, former UFC fighter. That's a fun fight. Looking forward to that. We have Ben Askren fighting tomorrow morning, defending his welterweight championship at one championship and some number. We also have Glory and RFA. On Friday night, we have Risen FF3, or whatever they're calling it, but it's definitely Risen FF something. We have that on Saturday night, a couple hours after Tampa. I'll be watching. I might do some coverage for Bloody Elbow, but I might be way too tired to do so, so I'll figure that out as time goes on. Anyways, anything else you guys want to add about UFC Tampa, about any of the other cards you want to mention, or anything I didn't mention? Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, that Kevin Souza versus Patricky Pitbull fight is going to be very good. I do think that Kevin Souza, he's got the advantage here. He's a very long-range striker for that division. I do think that Patricky Pitbull is, towards the the downside of his career. The only worrisome aspect of the fight would be if Patricky can get him down, maybe take his back and choke him out. But I do think that Kevin Souza will knock out Patricky Pitbull.
Yes, I like Kevin Souza in that one as well by knockout. That Derek Campos Patricky Pitbull fight was going to be fun as well, but this is a really, really fun fight. This card is kind of being overlooked. No one's really talking about it with UFC Tampa coming up especially, and it's not the best card. I can't name any other fighter on the card, but that main event kind of, what's the word, it kind of makes up for the not great card, I guess you can say, for Bellator 152 or 153. Paolo, while we're talking about this, who do you like in that main event?
Yeah, I like Kevin Souza here. I'm actually disappointed he's not an underdog because I was thinking, man, if Kevin Souza was going to be an underdog, I would snatch him right away, man. But no. I mean, Patricky, he's still, he's still a pretty decent striker, and he definitely has those big power in his fist. And Kevin Souza, this guy gets lit up sometimes too, man. I mean, my boy Mark Adiva was putting it on him in that Brazil card. So if Kevin Souza doesn't get Patricky early and get him out of there early, and Patricky starts landing on him, man, that could be trouble too. So it's a closer fight than I initially thought, but I still gotta go with Kevin Souza here.
Now, we were briefly talking about this off air, but Daniel or Paolo, whoever wants to talk first, are you guys going to watch Rizin FF3 on Saturday after UFC Tampa?
For me, it just comes down to who's on the card, what I'm doing, what time it is, and all that stuff, because I know I will be watching UFC Tampa. I'm going to catch that Patricky Pitbull versus Kevin Souza fight. You said there was a glory fight too that night?
On Friday, I believe, we have Nikki Holtzman, I think he's a welterweight champion. I'm a casual kickboxing fan. I might check out the main event, but if anything, probably not at all.
Yeah, man, I mean, we're just going to have to see. I got to see what that lineup is on Ryzen, if it's stacked and stuff like it was last time. Maybe I'll take a gander, but, I mean, it's UFC and that Kevin Souza fight for me.
Definitely. Rizin isn't as stacked as it was before. The light heavyweight tournament, or heavyweight actually, last time, and Fader, of course, really made it a huge debut for Rizin. This time we have Wanderlei Silva returning in a tag team grappling match. He's fighting. Yeah, it's insane. That's the main event.
What? For real?
Yeah, for real. Sakuraba is one of the opponents, and I don't have the name.
Team grappling match?
I believe so. It's grappling, as far as I know.
All right, so I can just go ahead and confirm I will not be tuning in.
And I can confirm I will be. Paolo, what about you? Are you gonna be kind of crazy? Probably not make the best decision in your life and watch Rizin from like 1 a.m. to 6 a.m., something like that?
No, man. I'm probably going to be going to bed. I mean, yeah, come on. Like, this card just doesn't hold a lot of interest for me. I mean, the hardcore fan in me wants to, but realistically, I won't.
Yeah, I'm not about that realistic stuff. I'm going to be watching it, so anyone who wants to live tweet with me or whatever, I'm down. I'll be watching unless I fall asleep on the couch, which is very possible. But I did survive Rizin FF 1 and 2 last December, so I'm going for the finish. I'm hoping to watch that grappling match in the main event. Anyways, let's quickly get to our DraftKings teams for UFC on Fox 19. Now, Daniel, I'll let Paul go first. He's the DraftKings master here. Who is your 5 fighters on your DraftKings team for UFC Tampa?
Well, not really the master because I got whooped last week. I got swept last week. That was my first time where I got swept, but, it happens. That was kind of a crazy card, so, that stuff happens. But right now I usually make 2 teams. I make a cash games team and a guaranteed prize pools team, and I'm going to have my DraftKings article out soon, so, check out for that soon. But for the cash, I'll give you my cash games team. I got Islam Makhachev, Glover Teixeira, Raquel Pennington, Hakran Diaz, and Michael Graves. Basically, for a cash game, you're just going to win half of your pool so you can profit. So it's less. You profit less that way than if you win the GPP, which is like grand prizes and stuff. But you still make money. So you gotta go with the 5 fighters who you think are the more than likely winners as opposed to finishers. So that's what I did right there.
Nice. Now, Daniel, do you have a DraftKings team ready to go, or are you not about DraftKings?
DraftKings definitely hit me up. Let's talk and get you to get behind half the battle. I will happily, push your brand, and we can make talks. But I will give you guys my plays for this card. So I had a 2-unit play on Glover Teixeira. Initially it was parlayed with John Jones, and then DC pulled out with a bruised foot, so it became 2 units on Glover at -190, which kind of is against my rules, but shit happens. And I got 1 unit on Tisha Torres, 1 unit on Hakran Diaz, 1 unit on Dariush Chiesa does not go the distance, and then I got a 1-unit parlay with Beneil Dariush and Albert Tumenov, who competes in a couple weeks from now.
All right, in my DraftKings team, I literally just finished making it. Not exactly what I wanted. These odds and I'm liking a lot of favorites here. Like I went through, of course, so these odds aren't the best for me. It's hard to even fit on a couple decently sized favorites here. So my team is Beneil Dariush, Glover Teixeira, Cub Swanson, Omari Akhmedov, which I didn't really want on there, and Raquel Pennington, who could be a good team member, but I don't know. On the fence with Omari and Raquel. Wanted the Holy War Angel in there somewhere, but I could not fit him in. So that's my team. I might play whatever. I'm not too big into DraftKings, but I like sharing my team nevertheless. All right, that does it for the 29th edition of Before the Battle. Daniel, let us know where we can find you on social media, where we can find your website, your bets, your podcast, everything else you do in the world of mixed martial arts. Go ahead.
Well, obviously you can follow me on Twitter at BestFightPicks. You can find the plays at BestFightPicks.com, and you can subscribe to my podcast, Half the Battle, on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube, and basically just interviewing the most exciting fighters in the game and asking them the questions that no one else asks. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Half the Battle.
All right, Paolo, where can we find you on Twitter, on other social media? MySpace maybe. Where can we find you writing, your non-existent podcast? Maybe you want to give an update on that. I'm not sure if you're still doing the MMA side dish or not. So quick, give us an update. Let us know where we can find you on social media, your writing, and everything like that.
Well, unfortunately for the MMA side dish, it's like on hold right now. We don't know what we want to do with it yet, but we're a little bit too busy. But we do plan on bringing it back at some point. And for me, just for my writing, follow me at Today's Knockout at Paolo MMA. And like I said, I have my DraftKings article coming up tomorrow, so check on that. Like I had a big losing week last week, but that's like the first time since I've been writing these articles. Most of my teams have been cashing, especially the Cash Games team. So, check it out.
All right, and as for me, you can follow me on Twitter at NickUFC. Check out my other podcast, The MMA Circus. I host it each and every week with Andrew, the Clown Kid with Lawrence. We have great guests on each and every show. We answer dumb questions. We talk about what's going on in the world of mixed martial arts, and of course, break down some fights. Not as in depth as Before the Battle, of course. Check that out. This past week, Andrew, we had technical difficulties one night, and then he was busy the other. So Carlin Barnes, the host of the Parting Shot podcast, was my guest co-host on the show. We also had former Bellator commentator Sean Wheelock on the show with a very, very awesome interview. He really brought it for half an hour or so, talking all his former position with Bellator, currently commentating for Titan FC, for Victory FC, for One Championship, for your fight even on your show.tv this past March, being on UFC Fight Pass, talking his role as a commissioner of the Kansas State Athletic Commission, talking weight cutting. It was a great interview. I have an article up on that, just a simple Q&A format article, so you can read that if you don't want to listen to that, up on Bloody Elbow right now. I have a article from my Rafael Assunção interview up on Bloody Elbow as well. You'll just have to either search for it on Google or scroll back a couple pages, as that was posted a couple days ago. I believe that's about it. Thank you all for listening, and once again, enjoy the fights.